We are less than a day away from the 2023 Formula One season. Tomorrow, the first practice session of the season will begin, and that, of course, will kick off the season. The first race is on Sunday. It's the Bahrain Grand Prix. But before that, I wanted to give you my season predictions. These are probably going to be wrong, as are all of my predictions usually. Sometimes I do good, sometimes I do bad. So just like everyone else, but I got my notebook here. Got all my predictions. I got the driver's standings, constructor's standings, and some other fun predictions that we'll talk about. First, let's look at the schedule this year. It's a very different schedule than what we've seen before. So first, we got the Bahrain Grand Prix, as I just said. Then we go to Saudi Arabia, Australia, Azerbaijan, Miami, Imola, Monaco, Spain, Canada, Austria, Great Britain, Hungary, Belgium, and then the summer break hits. Then it'll be the Netherlands, Monza, Singapore, Japan, Qatar, US, Austin, Mexico, Brazil, Vegas, and then Abu Dhabi will finish out the season once again. So yes, some big changes to the schedule this year. China was supposed to be on the schedule, but that race has been canceled. And some new additions to the calendar. Qatar was on the calendar in 2021 as a makeup race for one of the ones that was lost due to COVID. But now it's back on the character. They're going to be going back to the same track they went to last time. So yeah, you've got experience on that track now. People have seen it before in terms of F1. I think it's MotoGP has run there before. So it's not like a born yesterday track, but for Formula One, it's a fairly new track. And then we have a brand new racetrack in Las Vegas. 2022, Miami was the brand new racetrack in the U.S. Now it's going to be Las Vegas on the Strip. Late in November, it's going to be like a midnight start, 1 a.m. start on the East Coast of the United States. I think around a 10 o'clock start local time. Here's the track map of Las Vegas. Yeah, they're going straight down the Strip. They're going to be going around the city of Las Vegas, around the MSG Sphere. The almighty MSG Sphere will have Formula One cars going around it. The MSG Sphere, I love it so much. Anyways, yes, so we have some new additions to the calendar this year. Obviously, we still have the big ones as well. Monaco, Monza, some of those other great tracks. You guys know all about them. I just read the calendar. If you want to go back and look at the calendar, you be my guest. Let's talk about predictions, shall we? All right, so as I said, driver predictions, constructors, and then I have a few fun races that I decided to pick. So which one should I do first? I think we should do the driver standings first, because if I do the constructors, you can kind of guess out of the constructors. We're going to use one single picture for everything. One picture is going to get us through all 20 drivers and all 10 constructors, because F1 did their normal grid picture, and I think it would be fun to try to do one picture for everything. Anyways, 20th in the driver standings, I'm going to go with rookie Logan Sargent. Sargent did well in Formula 2 last year, was able to get enough super license points at the last second to get up into Formula 1. It had already been announced that he would be joining Williams, replacing Nicholas Latifi, and he would be in that Williams car in 2023. Williams struggled last year. They had a couple of points finishes. Latifi got a point or two. Albon got 5 or 6. And De Vries got a point or two on his debut when he subbed for Albon. So it was a struggle of a year last year for Williams. I really don't see it getting better. And you got a rookie in the car. It's no disrespect to Sargent. It's just he's in a tough car and he's a rookie. So I don't see it going very well. I think he's going to finish 20th. Speaking of rookies and tough cars, I'm going to have to put Nick De Vries 19th. Impressed us all in his debut at Monza last year in the Williams, scoring points. But the AlphaTauri struggled last year. Not looking as great this year. And De Vries, I know he looked really good, but first-year struggles, they do happen. And when you're in a not great car, it kind of makes it difficult to adjust, to learn. So I'm going to put the two rookies, 20th and 19th. 18th, I'm going to put Alex Albon. Albon honestly had a pretty good year last year. That was not a great car, and he put some pretty great results for that car out there. He got a fresh start at Williams, of course. He was at Red Bull, had a year off. after being booted out of his seat, essentially. But he comes back, and he's going to be 18th. Just unfortunate. The Williams car is not as competitive. And yeah, I got Albon 18th. 17th, I'm going to go Yuki Tsunoda. This is a make or break year for Yuki. The AlphaTauri car, it's struggled the last couple of years, but for Yuki Tsunoda, this is a crucial year. It's his first year without an experienced teammate like Pierre Gasly. It's going to be a teammate that he has to beat, essentially, unless, De Vries lights the world on fire. I think Yuki Tsunoda is going to have to beat his teammate. It's year number 3 in F1. He's had his struggles in his first 2 years. It's a very important year for Yuki Tsunoda, but I think he finished 17th. I just don't think they have the car for it. 16th, it's not his rookie year, but it is his first full-time season back since 2019. Nico Hülkenberg. Haas, they had a pretty solid year last year. Kevin Magnussen got a pole at Brazil. He got a 5th place finish at Bahrain in the season opener. Both him and Mick Schumacher scored points, so Haas was definitely trending up last year. I don't think they do as good this year, as you'll see in my constructors standings prediction things, but I think Hülkenberg finishes 16th in the standings. I know a lot of people are high on him right now. I feel like a lot of people have picked him to beat Magnussen, but Magnussen had such a good year last year. Hülkenberg's a solid driver. He's not, the best of the best or anything, but I think 16th for him. 15th, I'm going to go with a rookie. I'm going to go with Oscar Piastri. After testing, the McLaren just did not look good. They had a lot of problems with that car, did not have the pace. Last year was a struggle of a year for him, really. Remember that first weekend, I think both of them finished like 16th and 18th or something, or 15th and 17th. They had terrible opening to the season last year, and they had their struggles throughout the year. Daniel Ricciardo ended up losing his seat. Oscar Piastri is replacing him. They still have Lando Norris, but unfortunately, I just don't think that McLaren's going to be it this year. I think Piastri, 15th. 14th, I'm going to go with the other Haas. I'm going to go with Kevin Magnussen. As I said, solid year last year. We'll see what he can do this year. I'm going to put him in at 14th. 13th, I'm going to go Zhou Guanyu. I have a little bit of optimism for the Alfa Romeo, and I think Zhou Guanyu is a really underrated driver. Last year was his rookie season, and honestly, he did pretty good. Didn't have a lot of incidents, and most of his DNFs were mechanical failures out of his control, and some of those he was running in the points. He could have had a much better year last year statistically if it wasn't for his mechanical failures. I think he was running in the points in 3 or 4 races when he had his car break down or something happened. He genuinely, I don't think he would have beat Bottas or anything, but he definitely could have had a few more points finishes. So I think Zhou Guanyu, he could, slip under the radar this year. I think he could have a pretty solid season. 12th, I'm going to go Lance Stroll. This is going to be a little bit surprising to some of you when you see his teammate higher up in the standings. Spoiler alert, I know. But Lance Stroll, this first race I think could be difficult for him. He missed all of testing due to a wrist injury. He will be racing on Sunday in Bahrain. But how much is that missing testing going to hurt him? I don't know. The Aston Martin looks really strong right now. But Fernando Alonso is an all-time great driver, and you're comparing him to Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll's not the worst driver or anything, but, he's definitely no Fernando Alonso. I'm going to put him 12th. 11th place, I'm going to put Lando Norris. Lando Norris always gets the most out of that car. Last year, he showed it. He was the only non-top 3 team driver to get a podium. Seriously, the only driver that did not drive a Red Bull, Mercedes, or Ferrari. Lando Norris was the only one to get a podium, which is kind of shocking. So Norris, I think he can put some of those absolutely insane results together. I think that alone will get him a little bit farther up the pecking order than what some expect, but I'm going to put Norris 11th. 10th, I'm going to put Valtteri Bottas. I've also seen some people pick Joe to beat Bottas, which I still don't see as likely. Bottas is a solid driver. He's a Grand Prix winner. He's been a part of a Constructors' Championship at least 4 or 5 times, so I know he's not in the top car anymore, but he did a solid job last year. Helped Alfa Romeo have a pretty solid season. I'm going to put him at 10th. 9th place, Pierre Gasly. He's got a new team. He's at Alpine, who finished 4th in the Constructors last year. They had their reliability issues last year, though. I don't know how that's going to strike this year since both the drivers are French. If you guys again, there was that whole joke that, Fernando Alonso had so many DNFs last year, whereas Ocon had none or only one. You guys get it. Anyways, Gasly, I expect to have a pretty solid year. I don't think he beats Ocon, but I think he has a solid year. It'll be interesting to see how that teammate dynamic works. There's been a lot of people questioning the teammate dynamic between Ocon and Gasly, but I think they can work it out, but you never know. They could have their issues. 9th, Pierre Gasly. 8th, I'm going to go with Esteban Ocon. Ocon had a solid year last year. He beat Fernando Alonso. How he did it. Alonso had a lot of issues, mechanical problems and whatnot, but Ocon still had a really good season. You can't really knock him down for it. It's not his fault that his teammate's engine decided to catch on fire every other race. He still had a solid season. He's a Grand Prix winner. He's a solid driver. He's got to lead the team this year, though. He's going to be the team leader. Gasly, as solid of a driver as he is, Ocon's been there longer. He knows this car. He knows this team. I think Ocon's going to have to take a step up as a team leader this year. I think he finishes 8th in the points. 7th place in the points, Fernando Alonso. A lot of people have hyped up Alonso a lot this year. I'm going to be one of those. You'll see what I mean here in a minute. But Fernando Alonso in testing, I know it's just testing, but he has made that Aston Martin look like a contender. I'm not saying world championship contender, but on their day, maybe they might be fighting for podiums, and maybe even race wins. Fernando Alonso is a 2-time champion. He's 41 years old, I think. So you'd really think he'd be kind of done with this at some point, or, he'd fall off his peak. No. Fernando Alonso is still killing it. He did great with Alpine last year. Just a couple of years ago, he got a podium with Alpine at Qatar. I think Fernando Alonso could have a very special season this year. And if Aston Martin and all that money they put into their development centers and facilities, if they can turn that into something, could we see a 3rd Fernando Alonso world title? It's not going to happen this year, but maybe next year, maybe the year after. Could Aston Martin take another huge step up? It's going to be a fun year for Aston Martin if all the preseason hype ends up being true. But I still don't see the top 3 teams being beat. 6th place, I'm going to put George Russell. This is going to be disappointing if you're a Mercedes fan. December and early January, even late January actually, I was thinking that Mercedes would be the one to contend with Red Bull this year. Plainly because they closed the season out so strong last year, getting that win in Brazil, at times being better than Ferrari, out-developing Ferrari at times. It seemed like Mercedes was going to jump Ferrari and be the one and only challenge for Red Bull. But they had a little bit of a tough time at testing. I know that Mercedes at times has had their struggles at testing, and they've talked bad about their car and stuff, and then they go out and they win every race or something. Not literally every race. You get my point, though. I don't know, though, because last year I thought that it was going to be that situation again. I picked Hamilton to win the World Championship, and no, that didn't happen. It seems like they still have a lot of steps to go with this car, with this new car, the no side pods design. They still have a lot of work to do. So Mercedes, I think, are still in a developmental stage. And I think they maybe win a race or two, but I don't think they compete for the World Championship. I'm going to put Russell 6th. I'm going to put his teammate Lewis Hamilton 5th. No 8th world title for Lewis Hamilton this year. The Mercedes, I'm just not confident in it right now. Honestly, that's the case. I'm going to put him 5th. The 7-time world champion. I will tell you more about that later. 4th place, I'm going to put Carlos Sainz. The Ferrari looked pretty solid in testing. And, obviously last year, one of their best years in quite a few years. They had 3 wins from Leclerc. They had a win from Sainz. They were the meme of F1, which, oh boy, Ferrari. They can't do that again. They can't have the strategy blunders. They can't have the plan E for engine explosion. They can't have these mistakes they were making last year if they want to be a serious world championship contender. If they want to be a serious world championship contender, get it together, Ferrari. Do not make the mistakes you made last year. Red Bull looks really far ahead right now, but remember, Red Bull does have that penalty from exceeding the cost cap budget. Could that hurt them at the end of the season in terms of the later development of the car? I don't know, but Sainz 4th. And with that being said about the cost cap budget being broken and maybe hurting Red Bull later in the season, that's why I'm putting Sergio Perez third in the standings. Perez had a great year last year. He had 2 wins. He had a record amount, his personal best amount of podiums, but he had his times where he struggled too. At one point, he was looking like he could potentially lead the world championship, but he had a little bit of a slump in the early summer. Canada, Austria, just some unfortunate results there. So, yeah, Perez is a solid driver. I think he's a great teammate if you're Max Verstappen. They had their run-in at Brazil last year, which I think could potentially hurt the relationship. We'll see how that goes. But Perez, solid driver, but I'm going to put him third. Second place and the world champion. Who's going to be the world champion in 2023? Is Ferrari going to be back? Is Charles Leclerc going to lead them to glory, lead them to victory? Or is Max Verstappen going to win his 3rd consecutive world title? Cue the national anthem. Wait, no. I meant for the second place, or for the world champion, not the second place finisher. You're playing the second place national anthem. Don't do that. Okay, I'm sorry. I hate to toy with your emotions like that, Ferrari fans. Leclerc second, Verstappen first. The Red Bull looked too strong. Verstappen's too good of a driver. Don't know what else to do. I think Max Verstappen wins his 3rd consecutive title. I don't know if he'll do it as easily as last year, but I still think he wins his 3rd title. I think Leclerc finishes second. I think he wins a few races this year. Speaking of race winners, who are going to win races this year? Verstappen, obviously, he's going to win the world championship, so he's got to win races. I think Leclerc wins races. I think Perez wins races. Sainz and Hamilton may win a race. And then this is one of my bold predictions this year. I think George Russell goes winless, and Fernando Alonso wins a race. That's right. That is one of my bold predictions for this year. George Russell goes winless. Fernando Alonso wins. So much hype, I'm buying into the Fernando Alonso Aston Martin hype. Yell at me. I could be very wrong in a few months, but I'm buying into the hype. I think Alonso shocks the world, wins a race, or doesn't shock the world. Let's go through the constructors. 10th, Williams. They have a new team principal, James Vowles. I don't have a lot of hope in them. Sorry. 9th, AlphaTauri. 8th, Haas. 7th, McLaren. They have a new team principal in Andrea. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Stella. So losing Andrea Seidel, that's big for them. Unfortunate for them, but they did not look good in testing. I have them 7th. 6th, Alfa Romeo. They don't have a team principal anymore. It's like their team representative, and it's Aluni Bravi. That's kind of a new concept, but they don't have a team principal. So that's something. 6th, AlphaTauri. 5th, Alpine. I think they dropped back a spot, but they still have a solid season. And then 4th, buying into the hype, Aston Martin. I think Fernando Alonso single-handedly carries them there. Lance Stroll will do his work, but Alonso will do most of it. 3rd place, I'm going to go with Mercedes. Once again, I just don't have a lot of faith in that car, but at the same time, I don't think they're falling off hard enough to drop back to the midfield. I think they will still be up front, a good ways away at times from the rest of the midfield. 2nd place, I'm going to go with Ferrari, who has a new team principal in Fred Vasseur. And then the Constructors' Champions, Red Bull. Yeah, kind of boring predictions, I know, but it just seems like it's going to be the way it goes. I don't know what else to tell you. It's unfortunate. It may be another boring year in terms of the championship fight, but the midfield fight could be fun again. I'm looking forward to that. I think it could be really fun. Now for some really weird predictions, just random races. I think this year, for the first time since 2016, the driver who wins the opening race wins the world championship. Seriously, it's been since 2016 when Nico Rosberg was in his last year at Mercedes. Nico Rosberg won the Australian Grand Prix, the season opener. He went on to win the world championship. It has not happened since. 17 and 18, Vettel won the season opener and Hamilton won the championship. 19 and 20, Bottas won the season opener. Hamilton went on to win the championship. 21, Hamilton won the season opener. Verstappen went on to win the championship. 22, Leclerc won the season opener. Verstappen went on to win the world championship. So I think Verstappen breaks that curse this year. I think he wins the Bahrain Grand Prix and then goes on to win the world championship. As for Monaco, the most prestigious race in F1, I can't believe I'm predicting this, but I think the curse is broken this year. I think Leclerc, I think he wins his home race. I think he finally breaks the curse of, first, of not finishing, but then his team throwing away the win and podium for him. And I think he wins. I think they put it together this year, and Leclerc wins Monaco. And then for Las Vegas, Viva Las Vegas. Who's going to win the first ever race? And I have reasoning for this. I think the first Las Vegas race, it's going to be won, you can't see the number here, by Sergio Perez. I think Perez is going to get himself a win. He's so good at the street courses. I don't know why, but he is so good at the street courses. I think he steals, or not steals, but he wins the first ever Las Vegas race. Azerbaijan, Monaco, Singapore, the street courses are Checo's place to just absolutely go insane. Why not Vegas? I think Perez. Everyone's going to be like, oh, Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton. Perez. I think Perez wins Vegas. But that's all the predictions I got for F1 this year. I hope it's a fun year. I really do. I think Aston Martin, they may be the fun team of the year to watch. The team of the year to watch, Aston Martin. Yeah, it could be a fun year. I'm looking forward to it, though. First race Sunday. Let me know your thoughts. Who's your world champion? Who's your surprise of the year? Who's your Las Vegas Grand Prix winner? I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a fun year. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.